Europe's response to the refugee crisis is failing. Instead of helping people in need, the EU is closing its borders. It forces desperate people to seek more dangerous routes, and as a consequence, more people are dying trying to make it to Europe. There are 21 million refugees across the globe, and although we talk about a refugee crisis in Europe, a tiny portion of these refugees have actually made it to the EU. In fact, the majority are staying in much poorer countries with less means to handle it. According to Amnesty International, the top 5 countries hosting most refugees are Jordan, Turkey, Pakistan, Lebanon and Iran. The organization criticizes the whole EU migration policy, where the main aim is to keep migrants away. A controversial deal with Turkey has closed the border towards Greece. It's a success according to EU politicians, as the number of people arriving has come down by 40%. Most refugees that make it to Europe arrive in Italy and Greece. Often they come from Syria, Afghanistan and Iraq, but also from African countries. Those opposing the EU migration policy don't applaud the decrease in arrivals. Instead they argue that desperate people will only continue to come, but on more dangerous routes. And indeed, an increasing number of refugees are now taking the more deadly route, crossing the Mediterranean from countries like Libya and Egypt. And while the total number of people arriving has come down, the number of people dying is on the rise. According to the International Organization for Migration, more than 3,500 people died or went missing on the way to Europe during the first 9 months. The same period last year, that number was below 3,000. To stop the flow of migrants, the EU wants to further enhance the border and coast guard and also strike new migration deals with African states. The EU has also tried to create legal channels for people to come to Europe. A part of the Turkey deal involves resettlement of Syrian refugees, which means that you take them directly from camps in Turkey to the EU. However, a small portion of the refugees staying in Turkey have been relocated. And in addition, it's been difficult to distribute refugees equally within the EU, as some member states simply don't want any refugees. The European Commission has tried to establish a more even distribution through a relocation mechanism. EU member states have agreed to relocate 160,000 refugees, mainly from Greece and Italy. This was supposed to be done in 2 years, but after 1 year, less than 6,000 have been relocated. This adds to the overall failure of the EU migration policy, with severe consequences both within and outside the EU.